WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana is home to a wide range of live music events and venues. More info on upcoming performances at musicbloomington.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's December 20th, and I'm Darian Benson. Later in the show, Indiana's Medicaid program will cost about $1 billion more than previously expected.
This amount of growth cannot continue, so there's going to be some tough decisions ahead.
That's coming up, but first, these headlines. More Central Indiana families need food assistance. Jill Sheridan reports the need increased again this year as Gleaners Food Bank announced a spike in the number of meals served.
Gleaners provided a record 48 million meals to people this fiscal year in its 21 county service area, an increase of 17% over the previous year. Recent data from the USDA shows a spike in food insecurity across the nation. The need for food in Marion County has increased 11% year over year, according to Gleaners. President and CEO Fred Glass says numerous factors play into the increase, including price, inflation, and supply.
We source food from literally all around the world to provide to neighbors in need. And because government support has gone down, even though we've gotten better at getting donated food, we have to buy close to half the food that we provide.
The demand also rose as pandemic-related assistance, including expanded SNAP, ended. Rent increases are also impacting residents. I'm Jill Sheridan.
Governor Eric Holcomb says the sale of U.S. Steel to a Japanese company reflects the need to remain competitive in a global market. Brandon Smith reports on the governor's reaction to the sale announced Monday.
U.S. Steel has 3 facilities in Indiana, including its largest manufacturing plant, which is in Gary. Lawmakers at both the state and federal level expressed disappointment at the company's sale to Nippon Steel Corporation. Congressman Frank Mervan accused the Japanese company, which he says has a history of untrustworthy trade actions, of exploiting American workers. Governor Holcomb says the sale is a reminder that an isolationist perspective doesn't work.
You have to be able to compete on a global stage if you want to stay in business and grow.
Holcomb says he's still sifting through the finer details of what the sale will mean for contracts U.S. Steel has in place with the United Steelworkers Union. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
An Indianapolis-based health network has agreed to pay the United States over $300 million to settle allegations that it had violated the False Claims Act. Violet Comber-Weiland reports the federal government's complaint said the company submitted false claims to Medicare.
The Department of Justice alleged Community Health Network had knowingly submitted claims to Medicare for services in violation of the Stark Law. The Stark Law prohibits hospitals from submitting claims for certain services referred by a physician if the physician's pay is above fair market value for referrals, or if their pay is influenced by how many patients they refer to the hospital. The lawsuit said CHN knowingly had an improper financial relationship with some of its physicians and submitted claims to Medicare unlawfully. With this settlement, Community Health Network will also join a 5-year corporate integrity agreement with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Violet Comber-Weiland.
Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb and legislative leadership met with Tippecanoe County officials last week to discuss state and local water issues. As Ben Thorpe reports, those officials say the governor committed to a pause on a proposed pipeline project until after a water study could be completed.
Regional policymakers have been raising concerns for months about the state's proposal to pipe water from the county down to an industrial project in Lebanon. Earlier this month, Tippecanoe County commissioners passed an ordinance blocking large water withdrawals. Commissioner Tom Murtaugh says the governor's visit meant a lot. He says the governor agreed not to move forward with the pipeline until a study could be completed and reviewed by a third party.
Also, they committed to, that a pipeline project would have to go through a legislative process.
In a statement, Holcomb said he hoped the visit demonstrated his commitment to making sure we have the right statewide water policy in place to support the entire state's economic growth and needs. I'm Ben Thorpe.
And for our final story today, Indiana's Medicaid program will cost about $1 billion more in the current state budget than previously expected. The state revealed an error Tuesday in the estimates lawmakers used to write the budget earlier this year. The underestimate is centered largely on home and community-based long-term care services. State Medicaid leaders say the flow of up-to-date information wasn't good enough when they gave lawmakers the funding estimate in April. Those leaders pledged to make changes to their process. Republican Senator Ryan Mishler says an error like this can't happen again.
We probably need to take more of an internal role with them, and along with Medicaid oversight, and work together to make sure it doesn't happen again.
The state will dip into its budget reserves to make up the funding shortfall in the current budget. But Office of Management and Budget Director Chris Johnston says there are long-term conversations needed about the growth of the Medicaid program.
This amount of growth cannot continue, so there's going to be some tough decisions ahead.
Medicaid policies were under the microscope already this year, and a Medicaid oversight committee created by the legislator. And a quick note before we go. The 2024-25 calendars for all Marion County school districts are out. Most district schools will start on August 1st. WFYI compiled the major dates in each district. To see those or download the school year calendar for any district in Marion County, go to wfyi.org/news. And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Aubriana Heron, Drew Dodlin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Darian Benson. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana is home to a wide range of live music events and venues. More info on upcoming performances at musicbloomington.com.